Hey everyone, this is going to be a quick rules video for my game Griphold Tower, in case you prefer learning through video. Um, Griphold Tower is an 18 card game. It's played completely in your hand. There's no table needed if you don't want one. Um, the theme of the game is you are going to assume the role of a lone adventurer. You've either been separated from your adventuring party or presumably something horrible has happened to them, and you find yourself at the top of a legendary tower, and there's waves of enemies coming at you through the room's only door, and you got to fight your way through 5 waves of enemies and then a final boss. So I'll go through the setup here. You just choose which boss you want to take on. We'll go with Deathsbane for this one, and you can set the other one aside. And then you choose one of the 8 characters. They're double-sided here. I think I'm going to go with the Valkyrie. And set 2 of the characters aside. Keep 1 for what I call the dummy card, and it's just going to help. It's going to help the cards work better when they're in your hand. These are the monster cards. There's 12 of them, but they're double-sided, so there's 24 monsters. So give these a shuffle. Make sure you rotate some of them just to get the variety. Okay, put these in your left hand for setup. Take the boss card, flip it over, and orient it so we're indicating that this is round 1. Actually, what we need to do first is you need to get your strength cards ready. All that means is take the cards from the back. I'm going to give me 3 strength cards. You rotate them 90 degrees, and you set them there like that. I said I'll give me 3 strength cards. That's actually hard mode. If you want an easier game, you give yourself 4. 4 is normal mode. Hard can be pretty difficult. But just to give a good illustration of some of the harder decisions, I'm going to play on hard mode. Take your boss card, slide it behind the last monster and in front of your top strength card. Then comes your dummy card. Slide it behind your boss card and leave it sticking out a hair. That's just going to help your character not slide around when you're moving your strength cards around. And then put your character right in front of that dummy card and behind the boss card. So here we go, that's set up. Let's go through just some terminology here. So these are your monster cards. We ignore the one on the bottom for now. That one's not in front of us, but this guy is. Monsters have a type, so he's a creature type. Most of them have an ability here. He doesn't, so we don't have to worry about it. And here is your monster's health with the heart, and here is your monster's damage. Okay, but when they're rotated 90 degrees and they're, the terminology is slotted. When they're slotted on the right here, they are a strength card, and so they have different names, these values. So this is your strength, value of the strength card, so 9, 12, 4. And then here is your armor. And armor is not going to come into play until the end of the wave, but as you're playing, you'll find you kind of want to try to preserve as much armor as you can, but a lot of times you don't really have the luxury to worry about it, because you're more worried about your strength. Okay, your character has 6 health and 6 abilities, so your abilities are your health. Each of these kind of sections is an ability. There's 5 combat abilities with the shields, and then there's 1 rest ability that you only worry about in between waves. That's indicated by the tent icon. And then here is the icon indicating whether or not your character is ranged or melee. Obviously this one is ranged because it's got the bow and arrow. Let's show you, you can see the swords for a melee character. Melee characters can only fight, they can only attack with strength attacks the front monster in line. Ranged characters can attack the front or the second monster in line. So obviously that means the ranged characters are going to play a lot. They're going to give you a lot more options. They're going to be easier to play. So I suggest starting out with a ranged character if you're just beginning the game. So the central kind of mechanic of the game is pretty easy. You're just going to use your strength cards to meet or exceed the health of the monster. And how that works is, let me just do one here. So let's say I actually want to attack the Lich first, partly because of his ability. Exhaust one ability for every monster defeated before Lich. So if I take him on first, I would have to exhaust an ability. And I'll show you what that means, but I want to defeat him with a strength, and actually it's going to be super efficient because I have a 9 strength card. So what I'm going to do is, well, the right order is probably, I'm going to spend this strength card by putting it all the way in the back. And then I get to slot the defeated monster as a strength card. So let's just do another one here. Oh, actually, I don't want her, the Phantom, to get in the front. Strength cards are half value rounded up against Phantom. Yeah. So I don't want her to get into the front because then her front ability is going to trigger. So some abilities have this bolded text, and it either says front, instant, or second. Front means, because she's in second position right now, if I would defeat this lion, she would then move into first. I'd take her into my right hand, and then her ability would apply. So I'm going to head her off at the pass here, and I'm going to try not to let her get into front position. But there's also one monster, excuse me, has a second position power, and that just behaves the same as a front power, except it applies to when he's in the second position. And then an instant ability, an instant monster ability, means it happens once, and it happens right the first time you see them, the first time they become visible. So you'll see, actually, Valkyrie is a good example. Sometimes monster abilities or character abilities will require you or give you the option to quote-unquote peek at third, and that just means take a look at who's hanging out in third position, and now they are considered visible as well. So the way I play it is you could leave it like this if you want, just so you can still see that third monster after peeking, but I tend to just put this back and remember who's there. But you have to remember that monster is considered visible, and so if there's an ability that affects all visible monsters, just remember that after you've peeked at the third monster, that monster is visible. So let's just do a couple more strength attacks, just so you get a feel for it. So I'm going to attack this 10 with this 12. So I'll slot the 10 because I defeated it with a strength card, and I'll discard the 12. So we're actually doing pretty good so far. Let's see, I'm still sitting on a 6 in front, but he's going to hang out a little bit longer because I really want to defeat that 9 with that 9 to preserve as much strength as I can. And notice he has a front ability, so that's only going to come into play when he gets into the front. Okay, so you get the gist on the strength attacks. If you get stuck or if you just see an opportunity, pay attention to your other option for attacking, which is the character abilities. There's 2 ways to activate an ability. You can apply a strength card to it, which means you just discard a strength card. So let's say I wanted to do take flight there in the bottom right. Peek at third and ignore visible instant and front abilities. Okay, well, it wouldn't be very useful to do it right now, but I'll do it just for an illustration. So let's say I want to activate that. I will discard a strength card, apply it to that, and now I get to activate that ability. And so it says peek at third and ignore visible instant and front abilities. So peek at third. Aha, that was actually pretty fruitful, because the Bone Thief can be a real bugger with his front ability. Discard a strength card of your choice. That's pretty penalizing, so I'm glad that happened, actually. So I peeked at third, and all 3 of these are visible, and so I get to ignore visible instant and front abilities. So his no longer applies, and his no longer applies. Okay, great. But let's say I've played a little bit more. Let's say I don't know, I'll just play a couple here. So I'll defeat him with strength. And remember, his front ability has been ignored, so we'll ignore that. Defeat him with strength. Okay, let's just say we're here, and I want to, let's say I want to do take flight again. Let's say I'm just scared of what's coming next, or let's pretend that, there's a really damaging front ability here, and I really want to use it again. But you only get to activate an ability with a strength card by discarding a strength card once per ability per wave. So I could discard a strength card and activate any one of my other combat abilities, but I can't do it with this one because I already did that this round. However, you do have the option to exhaust the ability to activate it again. So exhausting just means covering it up. It's gone for the round. I can't use it again. You can exhaust an ability to activate it even if you haven't already done so with a strength card. So let's say I want to use the sweet combo. I could exhaust it and I could use it like that. But then I can't go back and apply a strength card to it to activate it. It's gone for the round. Be a little bit discerning when you do this, because not only is it not usable for the rest of the round, this is your health, and so if you're taking damage at the end of the wave, and the monsters are causing you to exhaust abilities, you might regret having exhausted a bunch of abilities on your own. Okay, so let's just... One more thing to say about that, I guess. You can, like, say I want to use Dive Bomb, but I haven't exhausted Take Flight yet. I totally could do that if I wanted to. I could do this to exhaust Dive Bomb, but that's maybe not the best play unless I'm really desperate, because I had to cover up Take Flight to do that. You can totally do that. It's a legal move, and you might find yourself in situations where that's beneficial, but one caveat to that is when you're exhausting abilities, you can't exhaust all three on one side. So this is a legal move. That's a legal move. I could do that, if I needed to exhaust that one. Can't do this. And then one more thing about, each character has a stock ability, which just means it's free. Many of the stock abilities say just stock. They don't say stock once, and that means it's probably just sort of an ongoing ability, an ongoing effect on something, and so you just have to pay attention to that. The Valkyries stock ability is a once ability, so it says rotate a monster and highest strength card. So once for free, without spending a strength card or without exhausting it, I get to do that. One thing to remember, I guess, with stock once abilities is you can use it once for free, and then you can, if you want to, you can exhaust it to use it one more time. Okay, so let's pretend we've fought through a number of monsters. Actually, let's just skip ahead, and I want to illustrate one thing to you. So ignore his ability for now, and let's pretend this is the game state here. And let's pretend I read through my abilities and I can't think of anything that's going to defeat this guy for me, and I'm just stuck. He's an 8, I've only got a 4 left, my abilities aren't relevant, so my only option is to let him pass. And what that means is I turn him upside down, I put him in the back, and he's sticking out the bottom here, and I have to take his damage right away, right when I let him pass. So I have to take 1 damage, which means I have to exhaust an ability of my choice. And okay, I'm going to be really weird here and say, let's pretend that this was a different monster, and we were able to satisfy the 11 there and defeat it with strength somehow. So let's pretend that this is the end of wave game state. This monster that I let pass, the illustration is I let him pass into the room with me. He kind of was dazed and hung out there, but now I got to turn and take him on at the end of the wave. so I have to take damage again. So I took the damage right away, and that's called the initial damage, and now I have to take final damage. So if I had no strength left, if I had no strength cards left, for whatever reason, I would have to take another damage to put him with the defeated monsters and have him gone for good. So I'd have to do that. And that would be the end of the wave. However, this is where your armor comes into play. I have 3 armor sitting on me at the end of the wave. This armor can mitigate the final damage. So you take your total armor. If I had more cards, I would sum it all up. Take your total armor. That can mitigate this damage. So I get to send him to the back. And now my total armor is 2. And actually, one of the other benefits of armor is it also heals you. So let's pretend, I had a really tough wave, and this was the end of wave state, and so I had that 1 final damage. So I put that to the back with the defeated monsters, and now I'm down to 2 armor. But I get to heal with whatever's left over. So I have 2 armor left. I'm going to heal this one and this one. I could heal these 2 if I wanted, or these 2. So let's just say I wanted to heal this one and this one. I get to do that. And that would be the end of this strength card. And this would be where we sit after that wave. Except, after each wave, you get 1 free heal just for resting. So I get to heal whichever one of these I want. And so I would be going into wave number 2 with this one still exhausted. I'd have to start like that. So rest abilities would apply now. It says cost 1 to swap front monster with second highest strength at start. Doesn't really apply to me because this cost 1 means, let's say I didn't need to use this to heal, or I just decided not to and I would rather use it for my rest ability. It means I need to spend 1 armor to activate my ability. My rest ability. Most rest abilities don't have a cost, but if it says cost 1, it just means you need to use a leftover armor or allocate 1 of your armor points to activate your rest ability. So next wave I would just turn this over and I would set it up again, and we would play through 4 waves. And then at the end, so let's say we played the second wave, third, and fourth. For the 5th wave, you flip it over and you have the boss face up. So let's just illustrate a boss fight. You know what? I don't even probably don't need the cards, but I'll set it up anyway. Let's just say most of these are behind. And we're facing the boss. And let's say I end up having, I don't know, these 2 left. And here's my character. And let's say I've taken like 1 damage. Okay, so boss cards. Just like a normal monster, you have to meet or exceed that to defeat them. More than likely, you're not going to do that with raw strength, although it's happened before. Because I've only got 13 strength left, not near enough to get to 25. But you can take a chance and go for the critical hits. Each boss has 3 critical hits. So for Cripple Limb, this 8, the skull icon, is how much damage you can do with the critical hit. The heart is how much strength you must devote to it to activate the critical hit. And then you also must take damage. So you're taking a risk. You're kind of exposing yourself to take damage to get in there and get this sort of big shot on the guy. So you also have to take some damage and exhaust 1 ability. So let's pretend I want to activate. Well, heck, I could activate Body Blow because I've got a 10. So that could satisfy that. And I have enough health left that I could take the do damage. So let's pretend I do that. I have to discard the 10. That satisfies that criteria, and now I need to take 2 damage, so I'll do that. And then I get to do 14 damage, so now I'm up to 17. That's not going to get me there. So let's pretend instead let's get to the last part about bosses. They have one special boss rule. So his is take 1 damage to slot the lesser value half of the last defeated monster. Take 2 damage for the greater value half. So let's say I want to do that. I grab the last defeated monster. So what that's saying is I can take a damage to get the lesser value half, the 7, as a strength, or I can take 2 damage to get the 12 out of the strength. And man, that seems like a good deal. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to opt for the greater value half, and I'm going to abide by the rules and take my 2 damage gladly. And oh gosh, now I got to do math in real time. Oh, I think I did it. I think just doing the boss rule did it. Because 12 and 3 is 15, plus 10 is 25, and I defeated the boss. So yeah, the bosses can present kind of a unique puzzle in themselves. You got to have a good 5th wave, especially if you're going to take on I consider Azazel the tougher boss. You really need to try to hang on to at least 2 strength cards by the end and not just be left with 1. But you'll figure out your own strategy to defeat them. And yeah, that's the game. I hope you guys enjoy it. And thanks for watching.